Martha James walked slowly through the airport doors. She was wearing a black dress and holding a small wooden box close to her chest. In her other hand, she carried a folded American flag and a neatly packed military uniform. Her face was calm, but her eyes were full of pain. She wasn't going on vacation. She wasn't meeting anyone. She was carrying her son's ashes. Private First Class Daniel James had died just 3 weeks ago during a mission overseas. He was only 22 years old, a kind, brave boy, a soldier, a son. Martha was taking him to his favorite lake, where he used to swim as a child. That was his final wish. She had promised him. But promises, even to the dead, are not easy to keep. As she reached the security checkpoint, a young officer stopped her. He pointed at the wooden box in her hands. "Ma'am, what's in that box?" Martha looked at the box, then at the officer. Her voice was soft. "My son." The officer blinked. "Excuse me." Martha said it again. "It's my son's ashes. He was a soldier. He died in Afghanistan." The officer frowned. "Aha. Hold on." He turned and waved to another security guard. A taller man with a serious face came over. He looked at the wooden box, then at Martha's face. "Ma'am, we need to inspect this item. You didn't declare this earlier." "I didn't know I had to," Martha replied gently. "Please, just be careful. That's all I have left of him." The officer didn't respond. He grabbed the box from her hands, not gently, and placed it on the table. Martha's heart sank. "Please," she said, "that box holds my son's remains, his uniform, his flag, everything." Another guard looked over and whispered something. One of them laughed under his breath. "People try all kinds of things to avoid rules," he said. "Now they bring boxes and say it's someone important." Martha heard it. Her face turned red, not from shame, but from heartbreak. "That boy," she said, "gave his life for this country." More passengers were lining up behind her. Some were watching. A few pulled out their phones and started recording. The guards began to open the box. "No," Martha shouted. "Please be careful." They ignored her. Inside the box were a small urn, a photo of Daniel in uniform, and a folded letter. The urn had a tag with his name and military ID number. Even then, the officers didn't stop. "What's this?" one of them asked, holding up the letter. "That's my son's last words to me," Martha said, her voice cracking. "Please, you don't need to read that." But they read it anyway. Daniel's words were simple. He had written, "If something happens to me, please take me back to my lake, Mom. I want to rest where I was happiest. I'll always be with you." The room went quiet. A woman in the crowd whispered, "Oh my God, it's real." Another voice said, "That's her son. That's her child." The laughter stopped. The smirks disappeared. Martha stepped forward. She was shaking. She held up the folded flag in her hands. "I didn't come here for sympathy," she said. "I didn't come here for attention. I came to bring my son home." The tall officer finally looked at the urn. He saw the military tag. His face changed. He stepped back slowly, realizing his mistake. "I'm sorry," he muttered. But it was too late. The cameras were already rolling. The people had already seen. One older man near the back removed his cap and placed it over his heart. "That's a gold star, Mother," he said. "You don't treat her like that." Tears rolled down Martha's face, but she stood tall. "I promised my son I'd take him home," she said. "And I will." She picked up the box gently, as if holding her baby again. The guard said nothing. The crowd stayed quiet, and Martha walked forward, toward her gate, carrying the weight of grief, love, and honor in her arms. But what none of them knew was, this moment would soon go viral. The world would know what happened at that airport, and the shame would not be hers. Daniel James was not a hero in the beginning. He was just a boy from a small town in Georgia. He had messy brown hair, a big smile, and a heart full of dreams. People in town knew him as the polite kid who always helped carry groceries for older neighbors or fixed bikes for the kids on the street. He grew up in a small house with his mother, Martha. His father had left when he was 6. After that, it was just the two of them. Martha worked 2 jobs, cleaning houses during the day and waiting tables at night. Daniel saw her struggle, but he never heard her complain. He would say, "One day, I'll take care of you, Mom. I promise." When Daniel turned 18, he surprised everyone. He didn't go to college. He didn't look for a job. He walked into the military recruitment office and signed up. "I want to serve my country," he said, "and I want to make my mom proud." Martha was scared. She begged him to think again. But Daniel had made up his mind. He joined the U.S. Army and left for training. For weeks, Martha didn't sleep properly. She kept his room just the way he left it. She even placed his favorite sneakers under the bed, just like he used to do. Then, one day, a letter came. It was from Daniel. "Mom, training is hard, but I'm tougher than I thought. You taught me that. I miss your cooking, your hugs, your voice. But I know this is where I need to be. I'm doing something bigger than myself. I love you. I'll be home soon. Your soldier, Daniel." She read that letter over and over again. Daniel did come home a few times. Each time, he looked stronger, wiser, but also more tired. Martha noticed the sadness in his eyes sometimes. He didn't talk about what he saw during missions. He would just sit on the porch at night and look at the stars. One evening, he finally spoke. "Mom," he said, "if anything happens to me, promise me something." Martha froze. "Don't say that. Just promise," he said. She nodded slowly. "If something happens, I don't want a big funeral. I don't want speeches. Just take me to the lake, the one near Grandpa's farm. That place made me feel alive." Martha didn't want to think about that moment, but she remembered every word. And then, it happened. A knock on the door. 2 soldiers in uniform. The folded flag. Her world broke. Daniel was gone. Killed in action while protecting others. He stepped on an explosive while trying to rescue civilians. The military called him a hero. They sent her medals, his uniform, and a letter of honor. But Martha didn't want medals. She wanted her son. She cried every night for days. Then she remembered the promise. So she gathered Daniel's ashes, folded his uniform herself, and bought a plane ticket. She packed a wooden box with care. The urn, his photograph, and the letter he wrote during training. And she began her journey to the lake. But that journey, peaceful and quiet, was ruined at the airport. When those guards stopped her, when they laughed at her pain, when they opened the box without respect, it broke something inside her. Still, she stayed calm. For Daniel. Because that's what he would have done. Now, sitting quietly by gate 27, she looked at the box in her lap. She opened the envelope again and read the letter one more time. A single tear dropped onto the paper. And then, a man sat next to her. He was older, wearing a veteran's cap. "I saw what happened," he said softly. "Your boy was a soldier." Martha nodded. "I served too," he said. "They shouldn't have done that to you." To him. Martha looked at him. "I just wanted to take him to the lake." The man stood up and saluted. "I'll walk with you when your flight boards," he said. "You're not alone." More people began to gather around her, quietly, respectfully. Martha didn't want attention, but maybe, just maybe, her son's story was beginning to touch others too. And far away, someone posted the video of the airport incident with the title. They laughed at a grieving mother, but then the truth came out. By morning, the world would know Daniel's name, and they would know his mother's strength. The airport was still busy. Flights were arriving. Flights were leaving. But something had changed around gate 27. People were quiet. Some were whispering. Others just stared at the woman with the wooden box on her lap. Martha didn't notice. She held the box close, like it was her son. She was thinking about the lake, the soft breeze, the sound of birds, the way Daniel used to laugh when he skipped rocks across the water. She was far from the noise until a young girl, maybe 16, walked up to her. "Ma'am," the girl said, holding out her phone. I saw what happened. I recorded everything. I posted it online." Martha blinked. "Why would you do that?" The girl looked nervous. "Because it was wrong. The way they treated you. People need to know." Martha didn't reply. She looked at the screen. A video was playing. You could hear the airport staff laughing. You could see Martha standing there, holding back tears. And then came her quiet words. "That's not just a box. That's my son. He died for this country." The moment felt like lightning. The video was only 2 minutes long. But in less than an hour, it had already been shared thousands of times. By the time Martha boarded her flight, the video had crossed 1 million views. By the time she landed, it was on the news. Airport staff mock Gold Star mother. Woman carrying son's ashes shamed by security. The hero they tried to disrespect. Martha didn't use social media, but her phone wouldn't stop ringing. Calls from strangers, messages from veterans, texts from old neighbors. Even the mayor of her town sent her a message. "I'm sorry, Martha. We are proud of Daniel. Let me know if I can help." Martha wasn't angry. She wasn't proud either. She was just tired. She wanted to reach the lake, sit on the old bench Daniel loved, and let him rest. But the world wasn't done listening. Outside the airport, reporters were waiting. "Martha, do you have anything to say? What do you want the public to know?" She didn't stop. She didn't speak. She just walked past, hugging the box tighter. That night, as she sat in a small motel near the lake, she turned on the TV. The news anchor was serious. Today, a video of a grieving mother at the airport shocked the internet. The woman, Martha James, was carrying the ashes of her son, Daniel James, a decorated soldier who lost his life protecting civilians overseas. She was stopped, questioned, and mocked. But her calm response has touched millions. Tonight we ask, have we lost respect for those who give everything? Then they showed Daniel's photo. That same boy with the messy hair and big smile. Martha covered her mouth, her son's face, on every screen. Not because of war, but because of love. The next morning, she drove to the lake. It was quiet, peaceful, exactly how Daniel remembered it. She sat on the bench, holding the box. "I kept my promise, baby," she whispered. "You're home." As she opened the box and began to scatter the ashes into the wind, she didn't notice the small group standing behind her. Veterans, mothers, even airport staff who had seen the video and come to say sorry. They didn't speak. They just stood, hands on hearts, heads bowed. Daniel's final journey had ended, but his story was just beginning. And far away, in cities and towns across the country, people were learning a lesson about respect, about sacrifice, and about one mother's quiet strength. By the next morning, Martha James had returned home from the lake. She was tired, both in body and in heart. The little wooden box that once held Daniel's ashes was now empty, sitting on the kitchen shelf next to his childhood photo. His uniform was folded neatly beside it, just the way he used to fold his clothes after training. She sat alone at the kitchen table, drinking tea, not knowing the world outside had changed overnight. But the world had changed. Across the country, and even outside the country, people were talking about her. News channels continued to play the airport footage. Radio shows discussed the treatment of grieving military families. Blogs and websites posted articles titled, "A Mother's Grace in the Face of Disrespect." This is what real strength looks like. The son she raised was a hero, and so is she. Martha's name, which had been unknown outside her town, was now being searched online thousands of times an hour. But what really surprised her were the letters. Handwritten ones. The postman rang the bell that afternoon with a large sack. "You might want to sit down, man," he said with a smile. "These are all for you." She stared at the pile. There were letters from students, from other mothers, from soldiers overseas. One boy, just 10 years old, had written in shaky handwriting, "Dear Miss Martha, my big brother is in the army. He said your son was brave. I think you're brave too. I cried when I saw the video. Love, Tyler, age 10. Another letter came from a woman in Alaska. My son died 10 years ago in the same way. I never had the strength to speak up, but you did. Thank you for being a voice for all of us." Even some airport employees wrote apologies. One email read, "I wasn't there that day, but I work in the same airport. I just want to say I'm sorry. We're now doing special training to treat people with respect, especially families like yours." A retired Army general posted a public video message. "Mrs. Martha James, on behalf of every soldier who ever wore this uniform, I salute you. You honored your son, and in doing so, you reminded this nation what honor truly means." Despite all this, Martha didn't speak to the media. She didn't want to be a star. She just wanted her son back. But one morning, a soft knock came on the door. It was the same girl from the airport, the one who posted the video. Her name was Ellie. She looked nervous. "Mrs. James," she said quietly, "I know you didn't ask for this, but people are listening. Maybe this story can help other mothers, other soldiers." Martha studied her face. "You think so?" Ellie nodded. "Yes, Mom. And I want to help, if you'll let me." Martha thought about it. She had lived her whole life in silence, in small spaces. But Daniel had once told her, even a whisper can move mountains if it comes from the heart. So maybe it was time to speak. That evening, she sat with Ellie and recorded a short video. No fancy lights, no makeup, just Martha in her living room, holding Daniel's photo. She spoke simply. "My name is Martha James. I'm the mother of Staff Sergeant Daniel James. He died saving lives. He served with pride. I carried his ashes through the airport to keep a promise I made to him. I was stopped. I was laughed at. But I forgive them, because Daniel taught me something. Real strength is not in how loud you speak, but in how much love you carry, even when the world tries to break you." The video was just 3 minutes long, but it reached millions. And with every view, every comment, every tear, it became clear. Martha's pain had become a powerful voice. And now, the world was listening. Martha James had never been famous. She didn't care for attention. She lived a quiet life, far from noise, far from crowds. But now, the whole country knew her name. After her video went online, something powerful began to happen. People didn't just watch. They felt. They cried. They shared. They acted. In cities and towns across America, people held small gatherings in Daniel's honor. Some stood outside airports holding signs that said, "Honor Gold Star families. Respect starts at home. Martha, we stand with you." Veterans groups held candlelight ceremonies. Flags were lowered in front of schools. A group of children in Texas painted a large mural of Daniel in uniform, with the words, "He gave all." At the very airport where it all began, changes were already happening. Security officers received new training. Posters were placed around the building, reminding staff, **** every traveler has a story. Some carry bags. Some carry memories. Respect them all. ***. And above Gate 27, a photo of Daniel was quietly placed on the wall, with Martha's words written underneath. "He served with pride. I carried him home with love." One day, a large white envelope arrived at Martha's home. It had the seal of the Department of Defense. Inside was a letter. ***Dear Mrs. James, on behalf of a grateful nation, we are deeply sorry for the way you were treated. Your strength reminded this country of the families who serve alongside every soldier. Please accept this token of our respect. Asterisk asterisk. Along with the letter was a medal, the Gold Star Service Medal, normally only given to immediate family of fallen heroes. But this one was special. It had Daniel's name engraved on the back. Martha held it for a long time. Then she placed it gently next to Daniel's folded uniform. Not far behind, more change followed. The president mentioned her story in a national speech. We are a country of heroes, but we are also a country of mothers. Mothers like Martha James, who carry the cost of freedom on their shoulders and still choose love over hate. Let us honor them not just with medals, but with action. Martha received an invitation to visit Washington, D.C. She said no at first. She didn't want cameras. She didn't want speeches. But Ellie, the young girl who filmed the video, gently reminded her, sometimes your presence means more than your words. So Martha agreed on one condition. No red carpets, no big stage. She only wanted to place a photo of Daniel at the tomb of the unknown soldier. A few days later, she stood quietly in Arlington Cemetery. A soft breeze passed through the trees. She held Daniel's photo close, then placed it on the cold stone. I kept my promise, baby, she whispered again. And now, I think the country's trying to keep theirs. The guards saluted her, and though the moment was silent, it was louder than any applause. Later that night, news stations showed the image of Martha at the tomb. People didn't just see a grieving mother anymore. They saw a symbol, a reminder of sacrifice, a quiet force who helped the whole country remember what dignity really means. Back at the airport where it all began, something unexpected was happening. The same two staff members who had laughed at Martha were now standing nervously in front of a camera crew. Their names were Chad and Lena. Both looked different now. They weren't smiling. They weren't proud. They were quiet, serious, and clearly uncomfortable. The airport had arranged a live press conference. The goal was simple: make things right. But no one could force an apology to sound honest. It had to come from the heart. The room was filled with reporters, cameras, and airport staff. At the back of the room, Martha James sat quietly. She had agreed to attend, not for attention, but to hear what they would say. Chad stepped up first. He cleared his throat and began speaking slowly. A few weeks ago, I made a mistake, he said. A big one. I saw a woman who looked ordinary, carrying something I didn't understand. I judged her. I joked about her. He paused, his eyes getting red. But she wasn't just a woman. She was a mother. And what she carried was her son, a hero. He looked toward Martha. Mrs. James, I am deeply sorry. I disrespected you. I disrespected your son. I will never forget your grace. You could have shouted at me. You didn't. Instead, you taught me a lesson I'll carry for the rest of my life. Then Lena stepped forward. She looked down, unable to meet Martha's eyes at first. When I laughed that day, I didn't realize how cruel I sounded. I didn't stop to think. I failed you. And I failed every family who has ever lost someone in uniform. She looked up now, voice shaking. I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I hope someday you'll give it. There was silence in the room. No one moved. All eyes were on Martha. She stood slowly. There was no anger in her face, no hate in her eyes, just strength. She walked toward the microphone. Everyone leaned in. I never asked for this spotlight, she began. I came through your airport to keep a promise to my son. She paused, looking at the crowd. You judged me. You laughed at my pain. But I'm not here to shame you. I'm here to remind everyone. You never know what someone is carrying. She turned to Chad and Lena. You made a mistake, but you owned it, and that matters. Then she did something no one expected. She reached out her hand. Chad hesitated, but took it. Then Lena joined too. The room erupted in soft claps and a few tears. Later that day, the video of the apology went viral. People called it the most honest apology of the year. But Martha didn't stop there. She worked with the airport to start a new campaign called Carry with Care. Posters went up in airports across the country with Daniel's photo and the words, asterisk, asterisk, this is someone's son, someone's brother, someone's hero. Before you speak, remember what they might be carrying. Asterisk, asterisk. The campaign changed everything. Security officers received better training. Passengers started treating each other with more kindness. Mothers of fallen soldiers began to speak up too, some for the first time. A reporter asked Martha during an interview, "How do you stay so calm, so kind?" She smiled and replied, "Because I already lost what mattered most. The only thing I can do now is honor him by spreading love, not pain." A few weeks had passed since the public apology. Martha James had returned to her quiet home. The flags, the medals, the letters, they all sat in a small wooden box beside her bed. A folded uniform and a pair of Daniel's old boots rested on a shelf in the living room. Every night, she lit a candle by his photo and whispered, "I hope I made you proud." But something still felt unfinished. One morning, she got up early and dressed in black. She picked up Daniel's ashes, placed them gently in a velvet pouch, and drove to the beach where Daniel used to play as a boy. The sky was soft orange, the waves calm and quiet. Martha stood there for a long time, feeling the cool breeze on her face. This was the place Daniel had always loved. He once said, "When I die, Mom, don't bury me far away. Just let me rest where the sky meets the water." Now it was time. She stepped slowly into the shallow water, holding the pouch close to her heart. "Daniel, you gave everything for this country. You carried us all with honor. Now I carry you here, for the last time." Her hands trembled as she opened the pouch. A soft wind blew, and with one final deep breath, she released the ashes into the sea. They floated for a moment, then disappeared beneath the waves. Tears rolled down her cheeks, but her face was peaceful. This wasn't just a goodbye. It was freedom. From the shore, someone was watching. Ellie, the teenage girl who had filmed the airport moment weeks ago. She had grown close to Martha since then, visiting often, listening to her stories. She quietly stepped beside Martha now. "You okay?" she asked softly. Martha nodded. "Today, I feel light, like Daniel's really home now." The two stood in silence, watching the sea. Later that night, a news report aired a final update on the story. The video showed the beach, the waves, and Martha standing tall with the flag in her hands. The anchor said, "What began as a moment of misunderstanding turned into a lesson for the whole nation." Martha James reminded us that behind every uniform is a family, and behind every tear is love. People across the country lit candles in their windows that night in Daniel's memory. Airports displayed banners that read, "In honor of Daniel James, a hero, a son, a symbol of respect." And Martha, she went back to her quiet life, but now she wasn't alone. Letters kept coming. Visitors kept arriving. Young soldiers called her Mama James. Her story had touched hearts far and wide. In her living room, above the fireplace, hung Daniel's final photo. Underneath, she placed a small plaque that read, "Asterisk, asterisk, E carried his country with honor, and now his country carries his name. Asterisk, asterisk,